When my kids were little and they were too quiet, I realized, as most good parents do, there was something going on that I needed to quickly investigate. It's no different in the spiritual realm. And I'm going to tell you why that is right now. Hey, I'm author Michael Ramsey, and this is Michael Ramsey Books, where I show people how to transform their ordinary relationship with God into a spiritual one. If you haven't already subscribed on YouTube, be sure to hit the red subscribe button and ring the notification bell now. Luke 4:13. When the devil had finished every temptation, he left him, Jesus, until a more opportune time. There are times when the enemy, the evil one, the devil that is not only tempting you, he is actively attacking you, using the people around you, including loved ones. But when the enemy is noisy, it's much easier to discern what these evil minions are up to. Then there are times when the evil one is tired of wasting his time on you. He leaves you for a more opportune time. But these times shouldn't be confused with times when he has stepped back into your life and is hoping you haven't noticed. When the enemy isn't harassing you, life is easy. It's smooth sailing. Sure, there are the normal temptations and our human nature we have to continually contend with, but we're not under attack. During the quiet times, it's easy to drift and fall asleep at the wheel. And this is precisely what the evils are hoping for. They're hoping to catch you off guard when life is good. Jesus is in control, and there are plenty of other things to focus on. But like my kids, when they were little and they got into something they shouldn't have, like the time my daughter got into mommy's lipstick and gave her little brother a makeover, you must be on guard ever more when the enemy is too quiet. As I talked about in previous videos, the question should never be if, but what is the enemy up to, especially if the enemy has been quiet too long. If you're watching, if you're sensitive to spiritual matters, you'll sense something is off. It's at this point you need to go to the Lord in prayer. Use the spiritual weapon I mentioned last time. That is, you should inquire of the Lord. Ask him to tell you what the enemy is up to. One of the reasons the Axis powers lost and we won World War II is because we had intelligence they didn't. Winston Churchill knew in advance which cities the Germans were going to bomb. Then he'd move all of his forces to that city ahead of time. It spooked the Germans. They thought England had a much larger military force than they did. They never knew it was the same planes they fought the night before on the other side of the Thames. The Germans made the same mistake the Midianites did when Gideon attacked them. Both thought they were fighting a much larger army than they were. But it was just a few planes being patched up and shifted to the next city overnight. When you inquire of the Lord, when the Lord tells you what the enemy is up to, like the British, you have intelligence. Plus, you have time, like Daniel. Time to think about it, time to pray, time to plan, and time to do something about it. And you're less likely to make a costly mistake when you know what's going on and which city the enemy is attacking tomorrow night. A few years ago, the company I worked for at the time hired a new man, a family man who was very personable. But since I was on watch and since I inquired of the Lord, I was able to see. The Lord showed me he was planted by the evil one. Knowing this, I avoided him whenever possible. I didn't share anything personal. Thus, I eluded the dirty political tricks that befell some of my coworkers and ended up costing one of them their job. Someone who was very good at what they did. If you're single, before you enter into a new relationship, inquire of the Lord. Before you change jobs, before you move, before you make any big decision, inquire of the Lord. And not just big decisions. Since you are a baptized believer, a child of God, a spiritual Christian, why not inquire of the Lord about all things? Because even little things, as I talked about in a previous video, which I'll leave a link for at the end of this video, because you're not going to want to miss it. Little things can make a big difference. Now, some people think if there is a problem at work, a problem with a neighbor, a legal entanglement, or anything that's not directly related to something spiritual or church related, is something you shouldn't bother the Lord with. But this is a big mistake. Since the evil one attacks you in matters not related to spirituality, why would you not want to defend yourself in non-spiritual matters? Why would you feel obligated to put out the welcome mat and give the devil a free pass to harass you? Instead, inquire of the Lord. The Spiritual Journey, Volume 1, The Desert. I'll be revealing the cover soon. Learn how your desert experience coincides with the desert experience of the children of Israel. The Exchanged, a Christian-based thriller that will leave you in suspense until you reach the very end. Soon it'll be out for you. Next time, next step. Again, if you haven't already subscribed on YouTube, be sure and do so now. That way you don't miss a single video. Can't wait until next time. Like me on Facebook and visit me at michaelramseybooks.com.